Bren, so far the Grand Finals is living up to its billing, but now we head to map number 3. Where are we going to go? What will it be? What do you think?
Probably Anubis. I didn't just look at the screen now. That was a prediction by me. But this Assault game mode, this Assault type is going to be very, very interesting because both these teams have looked a bit shaky in it. We've seen some interesting compositions. You know, Monty mentioned earlier on the Analyst desk, we saw the solo support composition coming out earlier with just the Lucio, the Reaper, and I believe, what was it? Was it the Zarya and the Tracer as well to boot? So there's some interesting compositions coming out from a lot of these teams. But Temple of Anubis being the map, this was introduced for the playoffs. It's one of those maps that is very much going to be anyone's game here. We're most likely going to be seeing a lot of Sombra play, I'd imagine, from one of these teams at least. Again, she is very powerful on this one, on Assault maps in general, to be honest, just because of how well you can use those health packs.
She is, and the reason for that too is that for an Assault map to take a point, you need a decisive fight. You have to completely wipe out your opposition and have your team mostly alive. It's pretty difficult to do that when you get EMP'd to start out a fight. Generally, people don't tend to survive that.
Exactly. The EMP, just the fact that it disables all the abilities, fantastic ultimate to use to set up those engagements. But Temple of Anubis being the map. ZP, what's your opinion in this matchup here between these two teams? Obviously, this was Gigantti's map pick. They clearly didn't feel as confident on Volskaya Industries. They didn't want to be taking Misfits to it. So Temple of Anubis, what are we thinking here? What are you mulling over?
I think both teams are going to really struggle to hold on to point A because both teams have very good Widowmaker options, whether it be Linkser on the side of Gigantti or certainly Manitin for Misfits, where Manitin was absolutely electric yesterday on the Widowmaker. And I'm not sure there's any better point in the game for Widowmaker than point A Anubis, where she controls sight lines, and even if she doesn't get a pick off Bren, she completely can dictate the flow of the game.
So it looks like Gigantti going to be rolling out with triple DPS. Fraggy going to be on that solo tank role, and Zappis is going to be the man on the Widowmaker. We've seen this before. He knows exactly where Swoosh is. Gets an early headshot into him, brings him down to half HP. Be pretty big, and now they're going to be seeing if they can find a kill. Linkser sets it up. Swoosh brought down, running them in. We see Misfits, they're trying to engage, trying to play aggressively here. Tabik is in the back lines, but ultimately he's going to get brought down by Fraggy, and that is going to set Gigantti up now. They can start to roll onto this point. Now imagine off the back of that, the way Anubis is set up, this is most likely going to be an easy capture point now for Gigantti.
That was a critical error by Misfits where they did not adapt to the circumstances of the game. What you saw there is that Swoosh took a headshot early on. That completely ruined his health. Instead of calling, look, let's back up and re-engage a little bit later, he doubled down. He went in and tried to dive with no HP remaining. Immediately died, had no impact, and effectively Misfits had to try and play that 5v6 with a Sombra, which is almost like a 4.5v6 until she gets EMPs. So very rough engagement for Misfits, set up by good Widow play by Gigantti. And Gigantti, they're not slowing down here, Bren. They want to capitalize on this momentum.
And they're doing the exact same composition they've used before on Anubis. This solo support, they're running the Reaper into the final point here of it, and they're going to be fighting, trying to get these kills at least, but Fraggy gets focused down, but it is traded out now evenly. Zupe very close to that EMP. Zappis does collect another one onto Swoosh. Davin follows it up, does get the D-Meg. However, Zupe is ready and waiting with that EMP. He's looking for a good opportunity to use it, but now they're going to be moving in. There you have it. EMP is unleashed, but Zupe relocates down, links with the Dragon Blade. He wasn't caught with this. He's already found the kills, and this is momentum by Gigantti.
This is crazy, unchecked momentum. The barrier keeping them alive. The Blade opening the way. Gigantti, one tick already in the books, and Misfits in all sorts of trouble. They've already used their EMP. They're not going to have it up for a while. The respawns are coming back in, but Gigantti, they are back up to full strength. And if they get an early kill, which they did, this is going to open up Shaz.
They need to get a few more off the back of it, though. Still, Misfits are alive. Manitin, they've already picked off 2 players from Gigantti. Zappis gets D-Mech. The self-destruct being committed by Misfits just to clear them off the point. Will mean that Gigantti are not going to be getting away with a second tick. They're only going to be able to get that first one, but still, Gigantti already setting things up. A lot of momentum just being pushed straight into it. And again, we're seeing some more switches up. Links are now moving over to the Doomfist. And I've got to say, this composition by Gigantti, I honestly love it. I love to see the Reaper comps when you run it into the Sombra, because it makes a lot of sense. Even if you get hacked up as a Reaper, you still have a bit of survivability, because if you land your shots, you're going to be basically life-stealing up your HP. You're going to be very durable in the coming fights. So I do like it. And now we're going to see again, ZP, Gigantti going to be trying to initiate it, but nice hack onto Linkser before he can get off that rocket punch.
And Doomfist, he's relying on his abilities. If you hack him, can't really do much. Now he's going to leap in, hardly any HP, doesn't phase Linkser, but dying does face it a little bit. He's going to be taken out here early, and One thing I think is worth noting for Gigantti, the reason why they ended up losing that initial fight where it was looking really good is that they're running this one support composition. They don't really have sustain for a long fight.
Right.
So if they lose even a single person, they're in rough shape. They're trying to win this with overwhelming damage, and they don't really have the sustain to deal with a prolonged fight. So here's the name of the game for Gigantti. A quick fight where they kill 4 or 5 people in the span of 10 seconds. If the engagement lasts longer than, I would say, 15 seconds, it's probably a win for Misfits.
So the wonderful thing about this comp is that if Linksa gets an early pick, they can actually take the fight off the back of it. You can see that rocket punch so good at zoning out the enemy. Misfits forced out of position. Zap is going to be using that defense matrix. Now he wants to focus down onto the high ground. He's going to get trapped up. Tvik will be trying to put in the damage into them, but immediately Linksa falls and Fraggy as well, which means that, again, it's going to be another failed push by Gigantti. But they're going to be able to essentially build up their ults, which is realistically the game plan. So if I go back to the earlier point, the beauty of this composition by Gigantti is the fact that Linksa, if he gets a pick, they can push off the back of it. But even if he doesn't, they're still going to be happy to build up ults and see if they can build up maybe, 5 or 6 and then take a better fight.
What I really want to draw attention to here is look at Gigantti's health when they move in. They didn't really dive in with the urgency that they needed there. I mean, they didn't get the early Doomfist pick, I understand. But because all they have is Lucio healing in the back, it's pretty difficult. Yes, Misfits is in the same spot, but they also have the Sombra, the hacked health pack, etc. Still, Misfits right now dealing with this as it comes in. The EMP is locked and loaded, and Zupe might not even have to use it here.
Yeah, Linksa actually ended up using his Meteor Strike and absolutely got nilch from it. Now they're going to try and even it out. Gigantti are committing ults with this. Davin ended up unleashing the Pulse Bomb. He did manage to trade out a kill into Zebasai, but ultimately, again, Misfits are going to be the victors here. Zupe's still holding onto that EMP. Did not need to use it for that last fight. That's going to be critical because Gigantti are forced now in a position where they don't want to be using the sound barrier early because they know it will just get wiped out by Zupe's EMP. So they've really just forced their hand to a degree, and Gigantti, they need to get off a decent sound barrier, but as a result of this, it means that Big Goose has to be out of the fight to avoid getting hacked up, which means that ultimately Gigantti are not going to have that speed boost or the sustain. Well,
Gigantti, they're onto the Genji now, looking for the quick pick-off, but nope, not going to happen. In fact, the tire's just going to run Fraggy right over, and at this point, I like the idea of the Gambit for one support, but I think its time has passed here. Shaz has gotten very little done in the past few runs. They have not gotten the early pick momentum. They're not even running an early pick character anymore. I get that you have Death Blossom, but it's not an ultimate that gets tons of value in the game as it is right now. I think that if this push doesn't work out for Gigantti, you've got to swap Shaz onto a support for this final push.
Well, I don't know if they're going to have enough time, ZP. There's 2 minutes remaining now. Gigantti have been brought down here. They're going to be trying to take basically the big wraparound here, see if they can take the fight a bit more superior. But now Zupe just waiting patiently, has that EMP ready and waiting. He's going to get a hack off, and look at that, Davin will get brought down from the self-destructive Maniton, and that's going to set things up very nicely. Already as the kills flow in, Gigantti should be resetting here. They can't afford to take this fight. They need as much time as possible.
Shaz has to swap off, but I don't think he is. I think they're going to ride this one support comp to the very end. And this is going to be rough. I mean, they're going to get EMP to begin with here. They might feel under pressure and open with a barrier and give the EMP even more value. No matter how you look at things right now, Misfits, they're holding all the cards. They have been playing this defense beautifully, and Gigantti is in a whole boatload of trouble.
Yeah. It's a dangerous situation, absolutely. With Shaz, he's been holding on to this Death Blossom, holding on to this Sound Barrier as well on the side of Gigantti, and Misfits have not used a single ult. They're trying to basically do these eco pushes, trying to get Misfits to use ultimates when they don't need to, but they do get an initial pick here. Linksa has set things up. This could be a good start, but Zebasai going to be using that Sound Barrier now, trying to lead it in. Zupe still holding on to this EMP, which means that Gigantti don't want to be using it, but a great pick by Linksa again. He just leaps onto him with the Dragon Blade, and that is going to be critical, ZP.
That is huge. He was able to get the stealth kill on the Zupe in the back. There's no EMP. This is the opening Gigantti was looking for, and now Shaz might finally get some value on this Reaper. Tearing through Swoosh with the aid of Fraggy. They're about to get their second tick, and now Gigantti. They were waiting for a long time here, Bren, but this might be the victory push. This is their final window, the final 30 seconds, and now they just need a little bit more.
Yeah, they do. They're just going to try and bait out that South Truck, and now with the Death Blossom, he moves it into the back lines. Going to be the teammate, gets a kill onto Swoosh, and they're leading in. So many eliminations, and Gigantti managed to cap up this second checkpoint with seconds remaining.
The scary thing for me is that was shades of the first round of Oasis, if you go back there, where Tvik got picked off early, and it was snowballed into a big team fight win for Gigantti. But no matter how you slice it, that was the Linkser show, because Linkser was the one who got that early pick onto Tvik, and then he wrapped his way around the back just stealthily and bladed Zupe right in the back when his EMP could have ruined everything. So that was enormous for Linkser there, and what more can you say?
I mean, that was the 2 win conditions that they needed to try and cap that out. They needed an early pick for 1, which Linkser got almost immediately, and then they also needed to take the EMP out, whether that was by essentially bringing Zupe out of the fight by bringing him down, or getting them to use it in an unfavorable position. And Linkser completely turned up for his team. Off the back of just those 2 plays, easily just be able to sweep in. They could use the ultimates to their advantage.
We saw a quick shot Linkser there for a moment, and he just looked so humble. He's like, guys, did I do well? Did I do well? He's like,
I do it? There he is.
You did really well, Linkser.
He's such a cutie.
Linkser is great.
Look at him.
One of my favorite people to see.
Shout out to Linkser, everyone.
Yep.
This guy.
Gift esports.
Finland's gift to esports, Mr. Linkser, one of the most flexible players in this tournament. He's been playing out of his mind. Look at that crowd as well. These guys have been going absolutely crazy. Let's see now as we head into the game. Composition-wise, Gigantti now going to be set up on the defense. And again, of course, they're running the Sombra as well. So Shaz is going to be his turn to run that role. Misfits most likely going to be entering here to Vic on the Widowmaker. They could switch it up. They could put Manitin. They have done that in the past as well. But for now, it's not uncommon to see the early compositions that we're seeing now.
I mean, Tvik is a fine Widowmaker. He's a very versatile player. But on the same note, with how crazy Manitin was playing yesterday, I would still put Manitin on the Widow here. He was just electric. In any case, though, even though neither team is running their main Widow player on Widow, Widow is so good on this first point that, again, her mere presence, even if she doesn't hit anything, really creates matchup problems for the defense.
See if Tvik can hit those shots that he's looking for right now, but might not need to if the rest of his team is turning up as they are. Fraggy ends up going down pretty early on. Tvik, he's Linkser with the deflect. Absolutely baiting him into it still. Manitin getting desuited as well. Gigantti are going to be able to defend this one up.
So I'm going to amend my earlier statements. I do think they should put Manitin on the Widow, because let's break down what Tvik did there. Miss, kill, self, deflection. Like, that is not a good run of Widow play there, in the least. That was bad.
Yeah, it's a tough road for him, but he's going to be looking for more opportunities. But not the first time we've seen that happen. Linkser expertly using that deflect to get that kill, and now Tvik's going to be looking for a bit of a redemption, maybe see if he can set his team up again. Misfits going to be just running it down. Biogrenade is going to lay down. Sleep Dart, that could be big. They've actually brought him down, and they time the damage. So Davin gets brought down before he can get that reflect off. But Linkser moves into the back. EMP used as well. But somebody else being used by Gigantti, and they've got nothing from it.
No, they didn't get anything, and the problem for Gigantti is that the Misfits push got in just before the EMP came out, where even though Shaz got the EMP mid-fight, Misfits was already in that side corner, and the Sleep Dart from Zupe, of course, just sealing the deal by getting Davin the heck out of that fight as soon as possible.
Misfits could honestly just slam this all the way home right now. And look at this, change-ups again. Logix is going to be on this Reaper roll, at least temporarily. We'll see if he sticks with it. But this is huge for them, because Gigantti ended up using the EMP and Linkser's Dragon Blade in that last fight. So Misfits, they can lead in with the Sandbar if they want. And look at that, Zebasai is going to be using it. But great boot by Big Goose. Oh my goodness. Zebasai only manages to connect the Sandbar onto the one target. And TP, that's going to be vital for Gigantti to hold on.
Gotta fight music with music, Bren. That's the name of the game. And Gigantti looking like they should be able to withstand this push here by Misfits. They get the early picks that they need, and more importantly, Shaz well on his way to another EMP, which of course can create all sorts of problems for the attackers. What I find interesting here is that Tvik hasn't swapped off the Widow here just yet. I think he wanted to use his recon sight for at least one push, but you would have to think he's going to swap to, say, a Genji, a Junkrat, or something here and not stick on this Widow, but
so
is he sticking on the Widow?
He might be. The reason for it is that we used to see teams run this quite often, where basically you abuse the long sightlines of Widowmaker, and Logix can clean up in close quarters when they're trying to hide away from Tvik popping off these shots. So that's the sort of idea behind this composition. They're going to be trying to basically synergize with each other, but Gigantti now, they end up using this EMP while Tvik is trying to pop off these shots. We'll use the infrared side, but Logix now with the nano boost on him. Death Blossom unleashed, but there's no targets for him to realistically hit right now. Self-destruct also being used. Misfits trying to win this fight out, but not quite good enough. Gigantti end up getting a lot of kills off the back of it. Even with Linkser falling towards the tail end of the fight, they will still be able to hold on.
So what I don't get there for Misfits is that Tvik was still really far back when they opened up that fight, he wasn't even in the position to get to that top archway and lay down the Widow pressure. In fact, most of that fight took place out of his sightlines, and this is a recurring theme, I feel like, with Misfits and playing around Tvik, where even to go back to Oasis and them fighting away from Misfera, if you have a long-range hero or a hero that, you know, long-range rockets, a long-range Widow, you need to give them the good sightlines to land, but now the fight is underway.
Yeah, Self-destruct laid in. Linksa, though, wants to nice reflect, is going to be able to save him for the time being, but now he leaps onto Tvik, not quite finding the kill. The blade gets sheathed into Tvik, answers back with a kill, brings him down, but Gigantti is still going to be the winners of the fight.
Moral victory there, I guess. Yeah. It's a case where it's like, well, we've lost the fight, but totally shot the Gill.
Just going to style on him quickly, you know, but still, I mean, again, I mentioned why this composition of Misfits are running is strong and the idea behind it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with it. I feel like, again, there's a reason you don't really see it ran too often is because you're putting a lot of emphasis in either player to really hit their shots, and if neither player, Logix or Tvik, is really doing justice on those roles, you're better off running a more traditional comp. But look at this, Tvik has found an entry, Fraggy goes down, they get the D-Mech, and ZP, this could be the opening they needed.
It could be big, but it's going to take a while for Tvik to get in position to drop the sightlines. However, they're going to use the barrier here for Misfits. They're trying to control space. Respawns are coming in here for Gigantti. Fraggy's going to be able to buy a lot of time with this Primal Rage. And now, Maniton's getting demeched. Gigantti's in a little bit of a rough spot here, but again, look at Fraggy. He's going to Primal Rage, buy some time, and now the EMP is coming online. They've dealt with Logix, and really, Gigantti does have the tools they need here to bring this back. They're not actually in that degree of danger.
No, the longer this fight goes on, the better it's going to be for Gigantti. And Shazzy's built up the EMP. He's going to basically connect it onto the couple of targets that are waiting onto the point. Gigantti now going to be using their sound barrier to really just try and hammer this one home, get this defense underway. But Misfits, they double down. They use the nanobus onto Swoosh. And it looked a bit unfavorable for them, though. Linksa in the back lines. He finds the kill with the help of his team, still running into these players. Gigantti, they picked up so many kills off the back of it, and they are going to be able to defend once again.
The other issue with what Misfits is running here, too, is that even when they get the early pickoff, because you have the Widow playing so far back, they're not able to get the immediate suffocating presence on the point, where it takes a while for Tvik to get back into a position where he can lay down shots onto the point. Yep. And as a result, it's just, I don't know. This comp for Misfits, I feel like they've just run it way too long. And now they're going to be running into another EMP as Davin just blows up the other side.
Yeah, and if he keeps getting these picks like this, it means that Misfits are not going to get a good opportunity to push. Like, as soon as you get the first initial pick onto Misfits here, playing quite aggressively, it means that they're not going to be able to get a good attack off whatsoever. So, again, Gigantti with the defense, but you're right. I mean, the best attempt that we've seen from Misfits so far was when Tvik got that entry kill onto Fraggy. You might remember it. But now they have built up a lot of ultimates. We see Zebasai with the sound barrier, Tvik with the infrared sight. They can have that vision through the walls as he sees to use it pretty early on here. And Logix still waiting with that Death Blossom.
Meanwhile, Chaz has the EMP. There's a nice clump of Misfits players here. And again, this is the issue. If they take the fight indoors, Tvik isn't going to be able to support them. So now, take a look at Chaz. Chaz going to strip the sound barrier. A nice EMP. Removes the protection from Misfits. And Gigantti, right now it's even, but Misfits really did lose their biggest opening.
Yeah, Fraggy has to disengage temporarily as he was falling very low, but of course ult out Shaz trying to take the 1v1 against the Vic. Does manage to bring him down, and we will see another defense there by Gigantti. Still Shaz already building up this EMP as well. He's got another one on board. But again, that last fight, again, was the Shaz show. He completely set up the fight by completely wiping out Zebasai's sound barrier with that last EMP. Moving into this one, Gigantti now have a whole bunch of ultimates, almost 6 online for this next team fight.
Well, we do have a swap here for what should be the final team fight. Tvik going over to the Tracer. Shaz, though, he's built the EMP. And meanwhile, Linkser creeping from the back. The Dragon Blade is out. He's looking for blood. The cleanup is here. The EMP is out. Wow. And Linkser just chopping Misfits apart. 30 seconds left here, Bren. There's a silver lining. Misfits might get another attempt still.
Oh, he gets a pick onto the Vic as well towards the tail end. That's pretty big for them, still contesting the point, and they are staggering this perfectly. Maniton forced to use the self-destruct because he realizes he's not going to get an opportunity to get back into this fight. He mechs back up, but again, he's going to be brought out, and he's just a poor little baby diva stuck in the corner. Oh, this is so smart by Gigantti. This is going to keep him alive and bring him down now with 7 seconds remaining. They've turned this fight into a 5v6 CP.
It's beautiful. The self-destruct takes down 2, and Gigantti going to rather easily here box out the Misfits. And we might be in overtime, but the Misfits, they are out of gas. This should be Gigantti's map, and in the round.
There you have it. Gigantti going to be winning Temple of Anubis. It was their map pick. They definitely turned up where it counted. I gotta say, off the back of that, again, Shaz playing out of his mind with these EMPs, but also Big Goose had a particularly massive play earlier in this one map. You notice with the he actually managed to get that boop onto Zebasai. Do you remember with the sound barrier? That was an incredible play that could have been a completely different game if that sound barrier managed to get off.
Well, it just ruined the momentum that Misfits had there, where Zebasai was going in, wanted to drop the barrier. It's like, oh, I've hit no one. My music has been defeated by better music from another Lucy.
Yeah.
More so than anything else, I mean, look, I get the logic behind the Widowmaker play there, but there is a reason why it's not run all that often, and at some point you gotta swap off when it's not working, and I think Misfits really did just stick with that way too long.
I mean, it's like I was saying earlier, the whole idea of that composition is the fact that it works especially well in terms of you abuse the long sight lines, you give Logix the space on that Reaper to do damage in close quarters. But if either one of those players isn't particularly doing well or playing well, it's a real troubling, you're not going to really get the maximum value that you could be. But here's the final moments in that game. You can see the Lynx are absolutely turning up. This guy has been phenomenal throughout the entire tournament. And I gotta say, this game is looking incredibly close so far. It could go either way still.
I like to imagine Lynxer just having a joyous look in his eyes when that was going down, because you don't get a better set for a Genji where it's like, oh, I have a great flank. I have a Dragon Blade. And there's an EMP.
Yeah.
And it just, of course, he just cuts through Misfits when it counts the most. But it was also, I mean, Gigantti played that surgically, right? Where Shaz had EMP up very quickly, and most of the times when Misfits thought they were getting an edge, they would just get stripped by the EMP over and over again.
So we're going to be getting the next map up fairly shortly, so we'll be finding out what that one is, and it will be Misfits map pick again. We're going to be going to Route 66, so an interesting map pick here in terms of what it is, because I feel like, again, this is a map that Gigantti are not particularly bad at. They're not particularly weak at this one pick, but Misfits, I know we spoke to them before. We had a few interviews with them, and we were talking about the different maps that were coming into rotation with the playoffs. And they said they were relatively confident with Route 66 in particular.
They do like Route 66, and 66 is an interesting map. It's certainly one of the newer escort maps, I believe the newest until Junkertown arrives. And it's taken a while for teams to warm up to it, but you've seen interesting strategies develop over time. Probably the most notable part about the map is just how good a Sombra is on point A, where health pack control is formidable, and it's probably one of the escort maps where you see the most first point holds. That whip.
Yeah, the whip, the extra loud whip that always occurs in that song gets me every time. But yeah, to go back to the point about the Sombra, it's again, it is a sort of strategy that was developed, I believe, by United pretty early on. And we're seeing a lot more Sombra play in recent times because teams have realized the potential of essentially the hacked health packs and also the EMP in terms of abilities. But this first checkpoint on Route 66 is absolutely brilliant because there's two large health packs, once again, that you can hack up, rotate around with your cooldowns, and you can potentially even get full holds on that initial point. But the reason I feel like this is an interesting one that Misfits have picked up here is because, again, Gigantti are not particularly weak on this map. They can run the dive compositions, which you normally do see across the board on Route 66 because there's a lot of high ground, a lot of areas to be moving around on, and we are going to be seeing the dive compositions coming out to play right now. They're not really teasing with anything, just out of, nothing, not really pushing the boat out too much, but again, just sticking to what they know, the tried and tested.
Something that's going to be very interesting here for Gigantti is that they're running a fairly all-out dive composition with the Sombra. Misfits is running in all-out dive composition without a Sombra. I don't think Zupe is going to stand the Hanzo here. I think he's going to swap to something more traditional. So this very first fight, there should be a power edge to Misfits. However, if Misfits loses this first fight, if they're not able to take advantage of the part where Sombra is a little bit weaker in direct combat, they could very well get stuck in an ugly cycle of getting EMP'd. So this early fight, very crucial for Misfits.
So that's the reason Misfits are actually running Zupe on the Ana, is because they know that Gigantti are going to be running Shaz on that on the Sombra itself. Ana's very good in terms of support-wise.
Oh my goodness!
But they are building up that EMP. He's already on 90%. This is ridiculous.
What?
Misfits, they did so much damage to Gigantti, but just couldn't finish out any of the kills. So they've already built up the EMP, and now Shaz, it's his time to shine. He's going to be leading in with this one pretty shortly. And Misfits, if they're not prepared, they get caught out of position now to connect onto multiple targets. And again, cleanup duty for them. Davin and Shaz in the back lines just ripping apart this team.
Lights are out. Zappos is resetting, but My word, Gigantti played that very intelligently, where they actually were playing with their lives there, where everyone got very, very low. And the reason was that they said, everyone, go out there, get the crap kicked out of you, and go use Sombra's health pack so we can get an outrageously early EMP. And hey, the plan worked out. But what's a few bruises for a one-team fight?
Yeah, it sounds like a counterintuitive strategy to purposely take damage, but really not. And now it's set them up to get a lot of ultimates online. You can see the blade used by Linkser putting in the damage. His team is setting it up. Vic tries to go for a little back cap attempt, but he's going to get focused down fairly shortly. And again, Misfits going to be wiping right now, and Gigantti, again, building up another EMP. Big Goose has a sound barrier, dabbing with the pulse bomb, and all you need is that initial team fight with that EMP to really set up a solid defense on this first point.
And the EMP, it's going to be up for this next fight. They have the barrier, but ideally for Gigantti, you use one or the other here, right? Where I think they'd rather use the EMP, save the sound barrier if necessary, but Linkser's in trouble. This might cause Big Goose to EMP sooner rather than later. Zap is also in danger, so they have to make a play here soon, and yeah, that's going to force out the sound barrier. Now Shaz, he's going to be a little bit more judicious with this EMP. Doesn't want to use it, but you look at Gigantti just getting poked down right now. Misfits deep into the back.
Ooh.
But that Genji, first Genji kill for Linkser, might let them save the EMP.
Linkser, man, he just literally teleports behind him, says, nothing personal, kid, and just absolutely executes him. But Gigantti now going to be, again, with another solid defense all off the back of this. I mean, they didn't even have to use many ultimates there at all. Zap is very close to his South Stroke once again. Big Goose used his sound barrier. That was the most critical part of it because Misfits didn't have the damage output to break through it. And just having that little bit of extra HP pool really helped them secure that last team fight. But now, again, Shaz has the EMP. Misfits, the game plan for them, the strategy, they need to try and force it early out of it.
They need the Nano Blade here. They need Vic to not get hit by the EMP, and he needs to just go to the back and go to town. But now, see Shaz going to the back, gets the raw hack off, and now drops the EMP right into the backline. Zebosai, surrounded by anything but friends, he's gonna fall, and Gigantti, 1 minute away now from a first point hold.
1 minute away. A little sleep on Linkser. He's gonna have a quick little nap in the middle of the road, but it's all good. Now, Shaz, this is an opening for Misfits because they did use this EMP a bit prematurely, for my opinion, because Zebosai is still holding onto the sound barrier now. And that's really what they were waiting for. They were waiting for Gigantti to use the EMP, so now they can get off a decent sound barrier without the fear of it getting wiped out now by Shaz's EMP. So they're going to start leading in very aggressively.
Okay, so this has to be the Nano Blade time. There's the barrier. Vic has the blade in reserve. The Nano Boost is still being held. They've already taken down Fraggy, and now Linkser with the blade. Now versus Vic, blade v blade, and Vic gonna just dash right on through. No Nano Boost used here in the end, and yet might not have been needed, Bren, as the barrier was enough for Misfits. They get control of the payload, but so much time has been drained. We are already in overtime, and Gigantti, they have a puncher's chance of actually getting back in here before that hits the point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. With the players they've got, they might try and commit to it. They are rotating around, the overtime ticking down, and yeah, you can see the positioning by Gigantti. They're just waiting in the tunnel. Shaz still has that EMP. Misfits need to be very careful with their positioning here. The EMP is unleashed. Not sure how many targets they managed to connect onto, but Zupe gets brought down before he can get the Nano Boost off, and they're all falling. Misfits, they had the ult, but they just couldn't use them in time. Gigantti lay it on top. Manator does manage to answer back with the double kill from his own self-destruct, but at the end of the day, it's too little too late. Gigantti have the players, they've got the damage, and they are going to be full holding Misfits here, initially on Route 66.
Absolute disaster for Misfits, because now their only path to taking this map, Bren, is to get a full hold of their own that's even better than what we just saw. Not easy to do the way that Gigantti has been playing, as Zappos just gives us the cold, calculated thumbs up. He knows he's doing well.
He knows he's doing it. I mean, Gigantti, they're in a very happy position here. This was Misfits' map pick. A quick reminder, you know, they were confident in this map, but like I said, Gigantti have not been weak in the past. They can run the Sombra especially well. They can run the dive composition very well, as we saw time and time again, and it was all set up from Shaz building up that early EMP. Gigantti had a game plan coming into it, take the damage, build up that EMP early and often, and then just work off the back of it.
All right, so Misfits, they are absolutely going to have to run a Sombra of their own here. It's looking like they will. And they have to be perfect here, Bren. They can't lose really a single team fight unless it's at the very beginning. But very shortly, after about a minute in, they will have no room for error. And they're going to have a lot of ways that Gigantti can take this. So this is where for Misfits, are you champions or are you not? They would be certainly heroic if they did find a way to hold here.
Oh, what a storyline it would be if they did manage to full hold it here now. But like you mentioned, they have to play perfect, but they're also going to have to play risky, much more risky. In terms of, they have to get a lot more early pickoffs. They have to prevent that car from just reaching any point at all. Gigantti, they're coming into this with a confidence boost, knowing that they only have to push it a short distance, and they're going to be one step closer to being the champions here on the EU side of Contenders in the grand finals. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for this match. It's been so incredibly close between these two teams, Gigantti and Misfits.
Crowd's into it, and now if you're a fan of Misfits, you hope, you pray, you look for the hold of holds as Team Gigantti begins their attack. Team in blue moving their way forward. Pretty standard dive composition leading the way.
Relocate away, almost a bit of a quick boop onto Zupe, but these are the risks they need to take. They need to get aggressively early and often into them, trying to get that early EMP, because that's realistically what's going to be saving them here. But Misfits are not going to be running a Lucio, only Zebasai on the Ana for the burst healing capabilities. But Swoosh, he's fallen so low, already going to be falling. Davenport is level for second kill, and this could be disastrous for Misfits.
It's already a disaster. They're down 3-1 here early on. Gigantti getting unchecked, unchained momentum. Zupe still not even close to the EMP, and now it's going from bad to worse. Misfits dying one by one, and Bren, they have one final attempt to bring this back, but I gotta tell you, Davin could be the dream killer here. He has the pulse bomb up and at the ready, and if he was able to tag someone, that would be very likely the map for Gigantti.
Davin, he did unleash the pulse bomb, didn't actually find the targets, but already this car is moving into that golden checkpoint. Just putting in the damage. Davin falling incredibly low, doesn't have that recall, but the heals are there for him. Zupe now has built up this EMP, and it's going to be off the back of him. He needs to try and defend this now. Unleashes the EMP, does get the demake onto Zappis as well. This should be a defense for them off the back of losing that one player. Fraggy also not in the fight. So Misfits, they do get a defense for the time being.
Misfits able to re-solidify here, Bren, but now we're talking about buffers. This is where they cannot lose a fight for the next 2.5 minutes, or it's gonna be over. And that means that they're gonna have to deal with the Nano Blade that is now on deck.
That's a real troubling scenario if you're a fan of Misfits, because Linkser, he's got the blade, Shaz with the nano boost, Big Goose even with the sound barrier to support him. And realistically, Misfits, they don't have a lot to answer with it. They've got, yes, the tactical visor onto Vic to try and, you know, at least zone them out a little bit. Logics might go ham with that pulse bomb, but it's do or die time right now. ZP, they're moving in with the nano blade.
Linkser moving in, has the barrier, has the blade. Shaz already down, but Linkser around the side, finds Zebo. It's not a huge nano blade, it's not really what they were looking for, but Zappis brings the boom in over the top. The way now being cleared for Gigantti. They're so close, Bren, they just need a little bit more.
Still the point is being contested momentarily. Last-ditch effort by Swoosh, but Gigantti, they're going to be pushing this one in. We see a few more players come onto the point just briefly, but it's looking very much in Gigantti's zone, and there you have it. They're going to be winning the map out. And one step closer, one map away from winning out the grand finals here, the EU side of Contenders.
Gigantti, just one map now, Bren, as you've mentioned, and Misfits, think about what this means for them. They're gonna have to bring not one, not two, but 3 maps in a row to bring this back.
Yeah.
That would be an enormous story. That would be one of the best comebacks in Overwatch history if they were able to do it. But Misfits, the #1 team heading into this, the team with the best record in the regular season, they are in a hole that they might not be able to come back from now.